Hello everybody and welcome back to the ESL UK Premiership. My name is Munchables and joining me once again is going to be Andy Day as we head into our second game in this first best of three of the day. The National University Esports League taking the first game in somewhat of an upset.
Yeah, excuse me, sorry, I wasn't expecting that to come out from the NUEL. Obviously, I knew that they were full of talented individuals, especially this Mazrim and Ray and Maud. I was expecting some interesting plays to come out from them, especially considering how well they played against Choke. But to see the sort of early game pressure coming out from Shaven Tortoise to then facilitate that lead that transitioned into a very dominant mid game coming out from the NUEL was something that I wasn't expecting at all. Coming into this game, I'm hoping that XL have a slightly stronger pick and ban phase. I feel like they picked straight into what the NUEL wanted, and as I say that, they are going to be banning away this Anivia from Ray and Maud. I think that was a smart decision. I don't think they could really afford to give it away in the first game, but I imagine that this game, the NUEL are just going to stick to their standard ban things. They don't really need to change anything up coming into game 2. You know, why fix something that isn't broken?
Yeah, absolutely. The Anivia are going to be banned out this time, as well as the Tom Kench. So XL deciding they don't want to have to deal with that kind of stuff. And again, two of the target bans we saw last game coming out from the National University Esports League. We see Gangplank banned away from Billy, Vigart from Ped, and now as well Lee Sin from Synergy. So all three target bans coming out from the NUEL.
Yeah, and that means that this Lulu is going to be left available for XL to pick up. This is one of Ped's go-to champions. He's been playing it ever since she came out. He's told me many times that this is his favourite champion. It's the one that he enjoys playing the most, and he's played it in all sorts of roles. He's played it top, he's played it mid, he's played it support, he's played it AD carry, pretty sure he's played it jungle. He just loves that champion so much, and it's not really a surprise to see it picked up in this first rotation. I'd be surprised if that went on to Billy. I know that he plays the champion, but I just don't think that in this situation it would be best for him to play it. But that does also mean that NUEL are going to respond with this Jinx and Kindred pick once again. Shaven Tortoise had a great game last time we saw it. As well as the Jinx on Drools, I think it's just one of his comfort champions, something that he's very familiar with. During the laning phase, he didn't seem to do very much that was exceptional, but I don't think he needed to. He just needed to buy time, he needed to wait up, and Mazrim and the rest of the NUEL provided some excellent support in keeping him alive. So, coming into this, once again, I feel that XL need to avoid this pick composition, because already you can see things like the Lamb's Respite are going to make that pick very, very difficult.
Yeah, they absolutely are, and I mean, Shaven Tortoise did a phenomenal job on that Kindred in the last game, as well as Drools on the Jinx. I'll be interested to see how well they do with this. And actually, the Jinx Morgana combo has slipped on through as well. Obviously, Thresh and Gragas locked in for XL Esports, so they have a obviously very good jungler, very good support. But I'll be interested to see what kind of AD carry they lock in to try and almost counter this Jinx Morgana combination that the NUEL have managed to secure themselves.
The thing is, this is just such a strong bottom lane. You know, we've mentioned in the past about how Morgana facilitates some of the major weaknesses that Jinx suffers simply from that black shield. She doesn't have that much of a rough laning phase, and you know, looking at this matchup in particular, I've talked at length with previous casters about this Thresh versus Morgana matchup, and I think we can all agree that it is somewhat of a skill matchup that is largely determined by the AD carry that you're playing with. And the reason for that is, if you're playing Thresh against a Morgana, if you're on the side of the Thresh, often you can get shoved under the tower because of the great pushing power that a Jinx has combined with a Morgana. But when you're going up against a Tristana who can equally shove back, if the lane is centered around the middle, you can often fake out the black shield and you can do a lot of cool stuff with that Thresh. So it is somewhat of a skill matchup that's largely determined by the two AD carries, and I think especially in the early game, Icy and Exabyte should have the advantage in the 2 versus 2. It's just going to be a matter of whether or not they can take advantage of that and actually come out ahead in their bottom lane. So I think this time, I really want to see Billy lock in that Fiora. I think it would be really good for their team. He could also go for the Darius, that's another option available to them. And I think it will be better for them running something like this, putting their carries on their AD carry in their top, and allowing Ped to try and provide the utility this game. I think this is something that XL play much better than they do when they try and put Ped on something like the LeBlanc.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, there it is. We're going to see the Dinger-Donger on the Rift. Billy going to be playing that, I would assume, up in that top lane. So, Heimerdinger locked in. And now Katarina being hovered.
Katarina. It's not Katarina.
I would assume it's not Katarina, but maybe, I mean, I can dream. A guy can dream. But either way, we get to see Billy on the Heimerdinger top. I'm very excited for this game. The Champion Select just got so much more exciting for me. And I mean, just look across the combinations as well, the compositions that we've got. So much sort of AoE CC from both sides. We are going to potentially be seeing a bloodbath here.
Yeah, we could very well do. It's going to be a pretty good game, that's for sure. The thing that concerns me the most is, yeah, you have a bit of engage available to you on the side of XL, but it's quite a lot of pick. And the thing that I do quite like about the Gragas is if that Lamb's Respite goes down, you can use the Explosive Casket to completely separate everyone out. You know, just split them all apart and prevent anyone from taking advantage of that Lamb's Respite. So, but then that denies you another potential engage tool. It denies you the ability to try and set it for that pit. And I just feel once again that while XL's composition is stronger than it was, that Fiora just would have worked out better for the side of XL. I just feel as though that when you're running a Lulu, something like a Heimerdinger is just not what you want. And looking at this Heimerdinger a little bit more, he does provide quite a surprising amount of split push threat. Yes, he actually has very little mobility, but often, I'm sure many people have seen highlight reels of people trying to gank a Heimerdinger. He then sits in the middle of all of his turrets, he throws down his ultimate, and then it's impossible to kill him because he just sits in the middle and just laughs while you die to all of the turrets that are just pounding away at you. So he has that split push threat simply because of how strong he is in these 2 versus 1 scenarios. He can draw a lot of pressure as well as having a lot of very easy wave clear. But going up against the Galio,
yeah.
I don't know. Like, how am I supposed to analyze this?
I love it.
Heimerdinger versus Galio in the top lane.
I love the Galio pick. Just look at the composition here for XL. They've got Heimerdinger, AP. They've got Gragas, AP. They've got Lulu, AP. 3 APs on the enemy team. Why not go Galio? You have an AP carry from the top lane. He's tanky. He has more AoE CC that we were talking about earlier. He fits the composition. Galio plus Orianna is a crazy good combo. I like it.
That is true, but I can tell you now what's actually going to happen is that as the Galio ultimate as well as the Orianna ultimate come out, Lamb's Respite is going to very quickly follow it, and it's all going to be denied. So they have to have some pretty good synergy if they want to make this work.
Well, that's going to be tricky because Synergy's on the wrong team. Yeah, I mean, I'm excited for the. I want it to be 15 minutes in the game already, so we can start to see the big game team fights. Because honestly, this game should be explosive. I was about to say which lane is it that you're wanting to look out for this game, but honestly, Galio versus Heimerdinger. I mean, it's not every day that you get to see that. I think that's going to
be a very boring lane. I don't think very much is going to happen because all Billy's going to do is shove the Galio under tower, and because Galio kind of sucks at farming, you know, obviously you'd think, yeah, he can just clear the wave instantly, but not early he can't. He struggles quite a lot, and he has to use a lot of mana to clear those waves very early on into the game. Sure, once he gets a couple items, once he completes that Athene's, he should be fine, but until that point he will struggle, so Billy's going to constantly force him under the tower, force him to lose quite a lot of farm, and try and deny him as much experience while trying to poke him out of lane as much as he can, but that could put him in a bit of a tricky situation when you have this very strong Kindred that could look to set up a gank in your lane. So it's going to be very much down to the junglers who can set up who more. But I want to see more aggression coming out from Icy and Exabyte. I feel like just from watching that Icy and Exabyte are mechanically the stronger 2 versus 2, just straight up in the laning phase. And, you know, Mazarin very talented, Drew's very comfortable on this champion, but I just feel like if they played a little bit more aggressively, Drew's would struggle. Because from what I've seen so far, he's actually not very much of a trading laner. He's more about farming. He's more about getting past the laning phase and using more of a teamfight presence, relying on his positioning, relying on his teamfights, teamfighting prowess with his teammates to provide him the support that he needs to be able to come out ahead. So I think that Icy and Exabyte need to capitalize on this potentially weak laning phase and weak area of the NUEL. But, you know, last game we saw Shaven Tortoise support that by coming down for an early gank in the bottom lane that heavily swung the lane back in their favor. So as much as I say that, it's It's a tough one to call. I think, to be honest, that NUEL have this in their favor, and they could very well 2-0 XL.
Well, we'll have to see. It felt like XL had the games in their favour last week and ended up losing out. So maybe we do see a sort of swing back here from XL. Maybe they can pull themselves back into this series and at very least turn it into a 3-game series. But honestly, I am so impressed by the NUEL so far today. We expected XL to be kind of just running away with this series. The NUEL's previous performances haven't been anything to write home about. But this last game, they have really stepped it up a notch. And this time, I mean, look how sort of brave they are being with their composition here. Throwing in a Galio, that is confidence in a nutshell right here. And I've just noticed Victorio has the level 4 mastery on Galio, so yes, this isn't a champion he's new to.
No, but you have to wonder where he got that from. Because if this guy likes ARAMs, you can also, I'm pretty sure you can stack at mastery and ARAMs too. So, need to keep that.
Most people have most of the champions, so it's going to be pretty hard to play a lot of one champion in ARAM.
Well, this guy didn't have Maokai earlier, so I'm not entirely sure.
That's true.
But, you know, looking at these two teams, this is big. You know, again, I need to reiterate this because both these teams fighting to get as good a seed as possible coming into the relegation promotion tournament. These teams cannot make it into the top 4 anymore. They currently is sitting at 0 and 4. Both of them have lost to the top teams, and now there's only the bottom teams left to play. Both of these teams need as many wins as possible because you do not want to be last place. We've already talked about how there are some up-and-coming new teams looking to make their way into the Premiership. M&M being one of them, looking very strong with their new roster. Ironically enough, with a lot of former XL players on it, and you just don't want to be in that spot. So both these teams need this win right now. They have to come out ahead, and with Ped being on one of his more comfort champions, I think this could potentially be a situation where maybe they can come back into it, but I don't know. I honestly don't know. This is a surprising performance coming out from the North. Clearly they've identified their weaknesses and the mistakes that they made against Choke. They've changed that up, and now this game, they're looking to 2-0 XL, which, considering that XL brought FM to all 3 games last week, and very close games, is very surprising.
Yeah, it truly is. And are just having a couple of connection issues with one of the players, so we'll just waffle on at you guys for a little bit longer before we can get everything kicked off. But one thing I'm very interested to see in this game is Synergy up against Shaven Tortoise again. Now, I mean, in the last game, Shaven Tortoise really kind of made me eat my words about, I'd said he was a very passive jungler previously. I'd said maybe Kindred doesn't match his playstyle. And honestly, last game, he really just contradicted that entirely. He did phenomenally well, and he really got the ball rolling for the NUEL. This time, Synergy is on Gragas. Now, obviously, Gragas is definitely one of the strongest junglers currently. And you can be aggressive early on Gragas if you want to be. And we'll see whether Synergy is able to replicate the early pressure that we saw coming out from Shaven Tortoise in the last game.
Yep, we definitely will. So, XL versus NUEL, game 2. This could be a big game for the NUEL if they manage to 2-0 at XL. Have to see whether or not they can pull this one off. Shaven Tortoise once again going to be playing that Kindred. As you said, had a fantastic game on it last game. But can he repeat that performance? Early ward coming out from XL is going to spot them out. So this invade probably not going to work out in the favour of the NUEL.
No, probably not. They are going to charge on in here. Maybe get a couple of deep wards. But nothing too crazy going to be coming out here. Throwing a ward on that Golem so they know who's going to be starting off that early objective. The Stone Bros going to be spotted out when they spawn. But generally, not all too much going to be happening at level 1 here. Ped losing out the early trade. Is this a sign of things to come in the lane? Probably not. It's probably just a couple of auto attacks.
Well, Rainmore did have a fantastic laning phase last game, even managing to get a kill or 2 onto Ped. Obviously, you have to give credit to Shaven Tortoise and a few of them, but now that he's been taken off that Anivia, I think he will struggle. Simply because I think that Anivia is his champion. You know, Rainmore knows the champ. He has over 400 games on it, as I've said.
The UK Froggen.
And now that that has been taken away from him, you know, I think that he is going to be on a less comfortable champion. Sure, Orianna works in a very similar manner to how Anivia works, but will he be able to execute it as well when Ped now has his favorite champion?
Yeah, he certainly does, and we'll see if they're going to be able to use that to the extent that they need to in this game. Obviously, as you said, Ped has a sort of affinity for Lulu. He's played a whole lot of games on it, and we'll see how he's going to be able to match up in this game, as they need to get this one on the board. They need somebody here for XL to step up to the plate and take them to at least third games, as the NUEL looked incredibly strong in the last one, and they're going to be looking to replicate that success in this second game of the best of three. If you've only just joined us, welcome to the welcome to the ESL UK Premiership. Can you tell that I cast for them for a long time? We are going to see a very, very slow start to this one. No one going too crazy on the early game. We did see a slight invade coming out at level 1, but only to get those deep wards and just make sure that no lane swaps come into play. And let's just remind ourselves that up in the top lane we are graced by the presence of a Galio versus Heimerdinger matchup.
Yeah, and already you can see the Billy getting his shove on. I think that should be called a dance move, getting his shove on. And Victorio being shoved under that tower will begin to struggle when it comes to farm, so we'll have to see whether or not he can make that work for him. But he's got plenty of sustain available. He did go back very early on after doing the double jungle. But notice how Billy also did the double jungle, got that level 2, but then immediately went to lane, because he knows that sustain isn't very important to him. As you can already see, Victorio taking quite a lot of poke.
Yeah, obviously Victorio is going to be able to sort of heal himself up with that shield. If you do take hits, you can kind of just walk up and tank a minion wave and bring yourself back up to full HP. Tortoise down in the bottom lane, but the Lantern going to come out from Exabyte. They smell a rat, or more see it, since they have a ward. And that is going to mean that they can get away.
As you rightly said, this Bulwark on top of Victorio is such a useful tool when you're a little bit low on health. Jules, though, very low.
He is indeed. He's got the black shield on him, and actually is going to be able to get away with this one. That's actually Exabyte incredibly low, and now Icy is going to be exhausted, but he's got his damage back up now, and both members for NUEL very, very low, but they do manage to disengage in the end, and actually only one summoner spell used for each team.
And this is what I wanted to see coming out from XL. Okay, their execution wasn't perfect because Exabyte was forced to use the flash, but still, it's this aggression. It's constantly trying to put pressure onto this bottom lane, because I feel as though that they are somewhat of a stronger bot lane, and it's paying off for them right now. Putting that early vision down to control for the event that Shaven Tortoise is trying to set up a gank is very smart from Icy and Exabyte. They recognized that the same thing could happen that happened last game, and while all this action was kicking off in the bottom lane, we saw a very early gank coming out from Synergy in the mid. He used his flash body slam to collapse down onto Rainmort, and that forced the flash out of him as well. They weren't quite able to get the kill, but some very nice early pressure once again coming out from Synergy himself. This isn't what we saw from him last game, and I'm glad that he's changing things up coming into game 2.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, this is the difference between a good player and a great player, is the ability to adapt, the ability to change up what was going wrong in the previous game. And that's one of the great things about the fact that we are doing best of threes here, is the teams have an opportunity to adapt, sort of see how their opponents are playing and change according to that. And we'll see if XL are going to have adapted enough in this series to be able to take the second game from the NUEL. A little bit of a trade going on in the mid lane there, but nothing too crazy. And actually the Dragon going to be started off very early here for XL.
Yeah, very smart play. They recognized that they'd forced Jules and Mazrin back, and they used that opportunity to be able to pick themselves up a very early Dragon. So smart rotational play coming out from XL. And notice how Victorio already being constantly shoved under his tower. He's going to have to go back. He's then going to have to walk to lane, which Billy doesn't, because he hasn't used a single pot yet. So Billy in a great position right now. He's getting a lot of damage down onto that tower. But look at this aggressive jungle pattern coming out from Shaven Tortoise, getting very deep vision down, recognizing that XL had taken the Dragon, so Synergy isn't going to be anywhere near. And because of how low Ped is right now, that does mean that he can just steal away a couple of the jungle camps. and have nice control over Synergy's jungle. So I do like this play coming out from Tortoise. Completely a different play style to what we saw last week up against Choke.
Yeah, completely. And I mean, it's exactly what I was saying earlier as well. It is that ability to change playstyle, to change what has been going wrong and improve on it. But fair play, though, up in this top lane to Victorio. As you said, he did get forced back to base, but actually doing a decent job on staying even in CS to this Heimerdinger. You'd usually expect Heimerdinger to be the kind of champion that is able to just sort of bully in lane and be able to zone away and take those advantages, but so far, Victorio doing a very, very good job to just stay even in this lane. And now his teleport has come back off cooldown, so he decides to head back to base, finish up an item, grab some pots for himself. In fact, opts not to use the teleport. He is just going to walk back 2 lanes, so the CS should be just about even by the time he gets there again.
Yeah, and I think this is very smart coming out from Victorio. He's done a great job in this Galio. Clearly, he's been playing a few more than just ARAMs on this champion, because to be able to get somewhat of a CS advantage in a lane against the Heimerdinger is not an easy task. And now that he's got that the development of the Athenes, the Chalice, he can now have some nice mana regeneration to keep throwing out those abilities, have that wave clear available to him, and he's going to be in a pretty good spot from this point on. You can already see big CS discrepancy starting to develop in that top lane.
Yeah, absolutely. Doing a fantastic job there. I was halfway between fantastic and phenomenal on that one. But he is doing an awesome job up on the top lane on that Galio. And if he can keep this up, if he can just have the laning phase neutral like this and not fall behind, then he's going to be doing fantastically as they head towards the mid game here. 8 minutes on the clock, or 8.5, and nothing really happening too much. There is a slight gold lead in favor of the NUEL. They are sort of winning out in CS in that mid lane, in the top lane, and even in the bottom lane. So they are starting to pull ahead a little bit, but nothing that an early skirmish that goes in favor of XL wouldn't change.
Yeah, and right now we're already seeing the difference with Shaven Tortoise. He went for a very early gank in the bottom lane. It didn't work out.
Draws.
And now his pressure seems to be non-existent, and because that pressure is non-existent, Icy and Exabyte are being allowed to just constantly shove under tower. They may very well be looking for a dive, but even better, Exabyte is just going to scare him away. No, he's going for it.
No, it goes for the ignite. The black shield is ticking, and that's going to be their first blood. Buster shot used to just finish off the enemy AD carry and XL. They take matters into their own hands. This time they're going to be the ones with their foot on the acceleration pedal. And they're even going to be able to take this tower away as insult to injury. Fantastic play from the bottom lane of XL. And now we see Synergy in this middle lane looking to capitalize further. He gets the knock up onto Rayamort. Look at all this CC. Rayamort flashes away. One more auto attack will do it, and Ped is going to be able to land it. Beautiful play from Synergy. Beautiful play from Ped. And that is going to be 2 kills on the board for XL.
Well, you said beautiful play. I want to note that Ped messed up just a little bit there because Synergy knocked him back, and then he used his wild growth to interrupt the knockback, and that allowed Rainmore to actually flash under tower. So that meant that Ped also had to use his flash to get the kill, but kill still picked up. So you got to give him credit there, and it's Synergy now. He's been given plenty of time to farm up. He's completed his Cinder Hulk, and it's now he's in control of the jungle. And it's amazing how Shaven Tortoise, he fails one gank, and then he just kind of stops ganking. I don't know why he decided to do that, but because he did, it just comes back to what I was talking about. Icy and Exabyte, to me, felt like the stronger bottom lane. And when they were allowed to do their thing, when they were allowed to just play the lane in the way that they wanted to, you can see that they pick themselves up a kill, they pick themselves up a tower, and they swing the momentum heavily in their favor. This is what I wanted to see coming out from XL's bottom lane, and I'm really happy to see this actually come to play. Right now, though, Exabyte needs to be very careful. He's pushing in for deep vision without any real support.
Yeah, he's going to be able to get away with it for now. He's going to try and take away this pink ward, but Nazrim knows exactly where he is. He's going to be able to get that one last auto attack. Nice little sidestep on the binding. Synergy was just over the wall for support as he went up to grab that ward, and nice team play coming out from XL. They're aware that they want to try and get deep vision for when the dragon spawns in just 35 seconds. And that is going to be the jungler and support synergy that everybody harps on so much about.
The thing is, I thought it was a little bit strange that they didn't rotate their bottom lane up to the top and then just use Billy to 2 versus 1 of the bottom lane. On that Heimerdinger, he could very easily do it, but then as you mentioned the dragon, that reminded me, yes, there's no point sending your bottom lane up to the top half of the map when this dragon is about to spawn. Look at Icy!
Yeah, super aggressive jump there from Icy, but it's going to mean he's caught in the shockwave, but takes literally no damage there, the shield. Yeah, Ped shielding his ally there. Hook doesn't quite connect to its target. Mastery emote spammed all over the shop. And this is going to be a tower going down in the mid lane for XL. XL this time really on it in this early game. And they're taking this game into their own hands. Honestly, it kind of feels like the same game, just backwards this time.
This is the thing, right? To me, the NUEL seem like not a lane-centered team. They're not about winning the laning phase. They're relying on their macro plays, their decision-making, and their actual teamwork, which is very surprising considering this team was only recently formed to compete in the second half of the ESL Premiership. You know, this team's goal was to hold their spot. They picked some of the best players from the NUEL, they put them together, and already I heard from Frozen Dawn that it was their synergy that impressed him the most and how well they actually worked together. But from what I've seen, it's that they usually fall behind during the laning phase. That is when they slip up and just cannot deal with the sort of ridiculous pressure coming out from the laners throughout the ESL Premiership. And XL, something that they're ridiculously good at is their lane dominance. Billy playing his lane dominant champions like the Fiora, like the Gangplank, like this Heimerdinger means that it's very difficult to deal with the pressure without a jungler providing support. Same for the bottom lane. Icy and Exabyte, while they've only recently been paired together, you can just see how comfortable they are playing with each other and how dominant they are in this 2v2 setting. And because they were able to get that very first tower, they were able to transition that into another tower in the middle lane, pick themselves up the second dragon. Billy with his constant aggression in the top gets themselves a tower, and already it's a 3,000 gold lead in favor of XL, a completely different story to what we saw last game.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I think it was at 17 minutes, NUEL were 5,000 gold ahead in the last game, and XL are well on their way to matching that statistic in this one. Shaman Tortoise now starting off this Scuttlecrab. Victorio coming to try and help him out on this one, but Synergy might just be able to smite this one away. It does go over to Shaven Tortoise, but he's captured up immediately. Lamb's Respite does go out to try and keep him alive. He's gonna get the heal, but he's gonna fall. Ped picks himself up a kill. In the meantime, we see Mazrim grabbing a kill in the mid lane onto the AD carry. But it is going to be a 2-for-1 trade overall in favor of XL.
Yeah, so right there, it looks like that Synergy wanted to try and contest Shaven Tortoise over the Scuttlecrab. Shaven Tortoise felt like he could go for it because he had Victoria there. What he didn't respect was that Ped and Billy were right behind him. So he ended up losing his life, being called out of position. And this is not the Shaven Tortoise that we saw last game. But Victoria could be in some trouble.
Yeah, by the looks of things, he's in a whole lot of trouble as the hook goes out. That's going to be a lot of damage landing across, but the stun doesn't come through from Billy. Doesn't quite connect onto its target. And it is going to mean that Victorio can walk away with his life for now. And just look at the wave clear they have. They're going to be able to obliterate that minion wave. And that is going to mean this tier 2 tower up in the top lane is going to be absolutely fine for now. In the meantime, they have Drools just farming away down in this bottom lane. Had a freeze going for a little while. It is slowly but surely starting to push away from him, though. But we see a kill went down onto Victorio in the top lane.
Victorio did a very foolish thing. He decided to back in front of his tower in the presence of a ward that was in that bush. Exabyte landed the hook, very easy setup for the side of XL, and that was just a massive misplay coming out from Victorio. Why would you back in front of your tower? Of all the places to back, that is not where you do it. Right now, Mazrim is forced to use his flash to get out, and while all this is happening, Icy picks himself up a tower in the mid.
He certainly did, and now they're looking to get the flank onto Rayanmore. They're looking to go for a tower dive here. Synergy gonna get that shield. Immediately uses the explosive cast to pin Rayanmore against the wall. But here comes the taunt from Victorio. It's a 1-for-1 trade. In fact, it's a 1-for-0 trade as Ped wild growths himself. That's gonna be the turret coming out from Billy, but it's immediately just wiped off the map. Everybody on the NUEL seems to be on the same page here. The binding isn't quite going to land on target, but Icy's coming to the back of the team. He picks up a kill onto Rayanmore, sacrifices himself for it. He's going to type into all chat, #worth, as they head up the top lane.
Alright, so right there, Synergy did not respect the fact that Victorio had come back to life. You know, it wasn't that long ago that they actually managed to kill him. and he was able to teleport back into the lane. 2 members of XL were just stuck under the tower for him to easily drop that Isle of Duran down and pick themselves up a kill. And Ped, or he could be in trouble.
He certainly could be. He's going to be going down. They donate that one over to Victorio. And with the double AD carry up here, they should be able to finish off this tower as well. So nice response here from the NUEL to manage to take not only a kill, but also the tower as well. And they close that gold gap ever so slightly. It's back to 3k once again.
And this is the thing, we talked about how NUEL as a team are much more macro focused. They're more about their team play, working together and trying to get the fights that they want as a team. And Ray and Mort is going to be in a 1 versus 1 against Exabyte.
Yeah, the hook does land. Support versus mid laner. I don't really expect Ray and Mort to die, but I've seen crazier things. Exabyte does decide.
I didn't expect the Heimerdinger versus Galio.
Yeah, that is true. That is very true. Exabyte does decide to back away in the end. That is going to be the blue buff going away. No one there to help Exabyte finish off that mid laner, and he was well aware that the rest of the team would be on the way. So, Dragon going to be spawning in 1 minute here. 2 dragons already in favour of XL. We'll see if they can turn that one into 3, and maybe that is the win condition that they can start to head towards.
And this is the thing that concerns me most for XL. NUEL are now at a point with which they're comfortable. This is where they like to play in the game, and they're not so far behind that it's impossible for them to come back. Yeah, okay, there's about a 3,000 goal difference between the two teams, but that's not insurmountable. It's not a mountain that they cannot overcome. It's just a matter of making sure that they, for themselves, get the right team fights. They have a fantastic team fight composition. If they can stack it up nicely, then they can come out ahead. But it's a matter of not doing things like that.
Yeah, Whiffed Shockwave comes out from Ray and Mort, and honestly, I pretty much expect that to just be the dragon now for XL. It's going to be very scary to engage a fight without such a crucial team fighting ultimate. And everybody going to be here for XL. They're going to kick this dragon off straight away. Billy up in the top lane, but he has his teleport available. And that is going to be a nice, easy objective, pretty much donated to XL by Ray and Mort.
Thing is, for XL right now, because of their fantastic dragon control, that's 3rd Drake at 19 minutes.
Yeah.
So we are potentially looking at about a 31-32 minute 5th Drake, which is a real win condition for XL. Right now, though, Draws is in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, the Black Shield going to go out, but with the double Glitter Lance, if you can land the second one as well, the Black Shield's not going to deny that slow. He is somehow sneaking away, though, and he manages to make it out, and now Synergy and Ped both going to get stunned. The 4-man ultimate is going to come out from Victorio, who's trying desperately to escape, but he's gonna fall. There was just no follow-up available from his team. Shockwave still on cooldown for Ray and Mort, and it's gonna mean that it's a 1-for-0 in favour of XL.
The 4-man Idol of Duran was so perfect. If only they had a Shockwave.
Yeah, pretty much. And Mazrim, I don't even need to commentate that. He died in split seconds right there, and that is going to open this bottom tower wide for XL, who are looking to find more as Exabyte flashes forward and dies. That was an interesting play.
Yeah, I don't know. Exabyte should not have done that. I think that's pretty obvious to say. I think everyone can agree they should not have done that. He went for an even aggressive play when he wasn't tanky enough. There was absolutely no follow-up available. I don't think he even had enough mana to throw out his Dark Passage.
No, he threw it out. That was the funniest bit for me. It was that he flashed it through his lantern and the team was kind of like, you're crazy.
That's the thing. Only one person would have been able to follow up, and it would have been a 2 versus 3 when absolutely no ultimates were available. It made no sense. They should have just taken the tower, backed away. I guess Exabyte just wanted to do a thing, and that thing did not work out for him.
It's playing for highlight reels, man. Playing for highlight reels.
Yeah, that's exactly it. But you have to give. This is it, right? The NUEL had a perfect teamfight composition. And right there, Victorio set that up beautifully. You could have had the Mazrim follow up with the Soul Shackles. You had Ray and Mort's Shockwave available, well, should have been available. And then you have the Lamb's Respite to get out of a tricky situation if the fight doesn't go your way. But Idol of Duran comes in, Victorio's like, team, I've got this! And the team are like, that's great! No,
Good luck with that.
Fall apart, and it's very easy cleanup for XL. They run away with the team fight, pick themselves up, extend their tower advantage to 5 towers now, and they're in full control of this game. This is the XL that I'm used to seeing, but big misplays coming out from the NUEL.
Yeah, they do have that 5 towers to just 1 here on the map. So Oh, the double pink ward. That is a depressing sight. I'm so sorry, NUEL. I'm so sorry. But yeah, they do have a 4 tower advantage on their opponents right now. Almost 5,000 gold as well, so they are doing a phenomenal job to continue to snowball this game in their favor. But I think it's what you were talking about earlier. The crucial advantage here is the 3 Drakes. If they can turn that into 5 at just 30 minutes, that is going to be a massive advantage. And that buff can be so difficult to fight against. But also, it increases your damage to towers and objectives by 30%. That is a huge chunk. So basically, whatever they're going to try and do, if they can get the aspect of the dragon, it is just going to make it so much easier. And Drawls has got in the worst possible position, and he just gets melted down. Billy with the buffed up W. I'll be honest, I don't know Heimerdinger's ability names, because how often do you get to cast Heimerdinger?
Hextech micro rockets that he.
Ah, yes, the Hextech micro rockets.
Hextech rocket swarm, but enough of that Tortoise.
Yeah, Tortoise is going to have to use that Lamb's Respite, but I don't think it's going to be enough. A 3-man shockwave onto them, but it's not going to be enough to take any kills. Rayenwar trying to do what he can, flashes away as Synergy jumps on in. It is just going to be a 2-4-0 if we include the catch onto Drawls, though.
That was beautiful coming out from X, but I do believe he actually interrupted Victorio's ultimate there to prevent him from really getting a huge impact off. And while the shockwave was great from Rayenwar, it just wasn't strong enough. You can see he hasn't even completed an item yet. Currently sitting at 0, 3, and 4, really not being able to have the same impact that he's had in previous games. You know, you have to remember when they played up against Choke, he got a 4-man shockwave after Choke just barely took a Baron and completely swung the game out to give them an opportunity to come back into it. It was him and Mazrim that were the key playmakers, and it was him and Mazrim last game that was so impactful. But now that Mazrim and Rayenwar just don't seem to be able to have the same sort of impact that they were having off the back of Shaven Tortoise not providing them with the great early game, it's just a completely different NUEL team, and they just don't know what to do. It's a tough one for the NUEL right now, because Exmite's going in for another engage.
He certainly is, but this time he has his team with him, and Victorio forced to flash away over that wall. But honestly, NUEL kind of getting away with that one a little bit. But crucially, Victorio's flash is going to be on cooldown now, so the Idol of Durand is going to be much harder to land correctly.
Yeah, exactly. That is such a strong engage for the NUEL, and they will now not have that available for the next 4 minutes. You know, we have to note that Victoria has decided to pick up the distortion upgrades onto his boots, so he is going to have his flash available a little bit faster. Yeah, the cooldown is reduced by 20%, so that means that it is going to be on cooldown for a little shorter time. But now, look at what XL are doing there. Getting good vision control around the Baron, and they are going to kick this one off. Very risky play to do, but Victoria also has teleport. This is going to be close.
Yeah, the double teleport is looking to come through onto that ward. We already see Mazrim going in with the soul shackles, and it's going to go across. Synergy secures it, but Icy solo forced to use the heal as Exabyte having to flash away as well. Shaven Tortoise using the Land's Respite because these turrets are doing so much, and it's the double kill comes through for Billy. Victorio flapping away with his tail between his legs, but Icy's not going to let him get away with this one. Draw's going to fall as well. Actually, it's going to be Draw's picking up a kill as Billy gets himself a triple, looks for the quadra, but a nice flash from Drawls gets him to safety, and a beautiful Baron and a beautiful fight come out from XL.
So right at the start of that fight, I felt as though, oh no, XL have made a big misplay here. The teleport's coming out from Victorio, you've got the flash engage coming out from Mazrim, but Billy's like, lol, I just jumped into a Baron pit with my turrets, dude. Like, that was doing so much damage. He was just hitting absolutely everyone with those things, and it was impossible for the NUEL to capitalize on the big ultimates that they had available to him. Rayenwar once again just wasn't able to have the same sort of impact, but Billy, though, the main man of that fight, all he's been doing this game is just split pushing in the top lane, buying his time, doing what he could to get the farm that he needs to have an impact, and that impact surfaced right there. That was so massive, getting the triple kill. Bit of a misplay coming out from Icy to die to Drawls, but they do force the summoners out, so he's going to be a little bit easy to kill. And you know, I wondered about this Heimerdinger pick. I said that maybe the Fiora would work better, but Billy's making me eat my words with this Heimerdinger pick. Well played to him.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, look at his build. He's literally just finished the Morellonomicon as I started speaking. His second item was a Void Staff. That is so aggressive. He was wanting to go for early damage, and boy did we see early damage there. Just sets up that ultimate turret in the Baron Pit and just watches their health bars melt away. Really, really nicely played by him. And I mean, we mentioned that this guy has played a lot of Heimerdinger in the past, and it is really starting to shine through. 6-0 and 3 for him right now. And with this Baron buff, they're going to start to look towards trying to crack open the base and start to head towards these inhibitor towers.
And you have to think about how the NUEL are feeling right now. You know, this is pretty rough for them after how dominant they were in their first game. Shaven Tortoise facilitated their whole early game. And coming into this game, they just haven't been able to get the early pressure off, and their lanes have just straight up been losing. Synergy invested all of his resources into ganking the mid to help get Ped ahead. That forced Ray and Mort very far behind, and because of that, he's now had absolutely no impact on this game. Billy's unrelenting pressure in the top lane, and it's just come off the back of XL's laners just having the better performance this game. They've had a much better pick and ban. The game has gone much more in their favor, but Icy gets caught up in the shockwave.
Yeah, two-man shockwave onto the carries, but it's not enough as Shaven Tortoise forced to use Lamb's Respite so early. He is going to be able to escape to the back of the fight, though, as Victorio is going to be What was just... I'm out of words. Billy just destroys the entire enemy team. Icy jumps forward to finish off Drools. He says, this time the 1v1 goes my way. And now they take the inhibitor tower. And honestly, with the damage they have, they might be able to end the game, but not too many minions to work with. We'll see what they try and do. Ray and Mort should be able to just hold them off for now. But absolutely insane plays coming out from Billy this game. He is hard carrying.
At the very start of this series, I said about how since Billy came into the team of XL, he's really changed up their playstyle. He's introduced that possible carry from the top lane, and for a long time we haven't really seen it. He's been playing things like the Malphite, we've seen him on the Gangplank, and when he is allowed to play these carry champions, he has a phenomenal impact. And he's doing it once again with this Heimerdinger pick. That flank from him was absolutely huge. He was just sitting in the bottom lane doing his split push stuff. He knows, like, oh, my team's getting a little bit caught up. It was a great shockwave landing onto Icy, followed up by the Idol of Duran coming out from Victorio. But then right there, Billy's just like, oh, thank you for lining up for me. He then throws out his arcane missile barrage, and there's absolutely nothing that he can do about it. And oh man, what a beautiful place. Immediate triple kill. Immediate.
Yeah, that was absolutely insane. This is why I was so happy when we saw Heimerdinger locked in, because the stuff you can do in team fights, the versatility of that ultimate is just absolutely insane. And Billy showing that he has the knowledge of how to use that. But I mean, just looking across the scoreboard right now for XL, who isn't ahead right now? 2-1-9 on the mid lane, a 7-3-7 on Icy, and then 9-0-3 on Billy. It's absolutely insane. And honestly, I feel like we're at exactly the same point we were last game. Right now, it's NUEL who are just going to have to try and look at this game and think what went wrong, because it's starting to feel like they can't come back. 10,000 gold deficit right now in favor of XL, and this honestly could be the last team fight that's about to happen.
The thing is, this is the XL that I was expecting to turn up. The team that was just going to straight up win their lanes, and then off the back of that, they were going to look for team fights. And even if they got cut out of position, it doesn't matter, because the advantages that they've been able to build would just facilitate them through these team fights. And you can see it, even with the great ultimates that have come out from Victorio, come out from Ray and Mort, the NUEL just have not been able to capitalize because of the lead that the XL have had throughout this game.
Icy, yeah, Icy caught out, and the wild growth is going to come through, keeping him alive. That is going to be Billy's ultimate on cooldown, though, with not a whole lot of damage done. That could be a crucial turn here. Idol of Durand and Soul Shackles were both used as well, though. So, a lot of ultimates being thrown out there just for that sort of semi-engage, but nothing going to come off the back of it. tower down now to a third of its HP as we see Rayamort way too far forward. Icy caught up by the shockwave, but Rayamort saved by the Lamb's Respite at the very last second. Shaven Tortoise trying to escape, but it's going to be a kill. Coming across to Exabyte. The flash knock up onto Draws. He has to flash away to safety as Exabyte looking for the hook here, but he's being punished by these rockets coming out from the Jinx. But there it is. That's the hook he was searching for. Shaven Tortoise trying to save his AD carry, but he's not going to be successful. 2 inhibitors down, and XL, they're starting to look for the game.
Yeah, but no ultimates are available. Synergy, he's just going to tank all the damage up, and Victorio, I think he's going to lose his life.
Yeah, he's gone. Icy flashing forwards for that one. Mazrim now the next target. Victorio did survive, but Shaven Tortoise is not going to be so lucky. Icy just going to keep everybody on the Nexus here as Rayamort tries to do whatever he can. One last ditch effort has to come out from the NUEL here, but the Nexus is starting to get chipped away. It is going to fall. Exabyte going to survive that one last attempt by Rayamort, and it is going to be 1-1 on the scoreboard as XL managed to even up this series.
Who would have thought that of all the series that we have coming up, that this would be one of the closest ones? You know, NUEL versus XL. NUEL bring out a brand new roster coming into this series. Everyone's expecting XL to just straight up dominate them, especially after their performance versus FM last week. But now, it's the NUEL just surprises all. They get their comfort champions, and they start to dominate off a surprising performance of Shaven Tortoise. Now, coming into the second game, they just seem to have lost all their momentum. Where was the early pressure coming out from Shaven Tortoise? Where was the great plays that we saw from Rayamort in the last game with the support from Mazrim? It's just the NUEL just seemed to have lost their cool. Their team composition kind of fell apart, and that allowed XL to facilitate these great laners that they are as individuals. They were able to run away with the game, and very impressive performance from them. 9-0-5 on this Heimerdinger pick, 13.7k gold at the end of that game. I'm just going to have a very quick look at the damage dealt graph. Yeah, he was the second highest damage dealer in the whole game, only after Icy. He was incredible in that game. Ridiculous performance from Billy. I said about how he's the since introducing him, he's the carry, and he really showed up this game. Well played. We're going to a game 3, Munch.
We are indeed, and we're just going to head into a short break before we get this one underway. We'll find out who's going to be able to take this series in just a couple of minutes.